free, and garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
Are your trees in need of some TLC? Look no further than Tyler's Tree Service. Whether you're planning for next year or need help now, visit tylerscut.com to request a quote. They'll swing by, assess the job, and send you a competitive bid. That's tylerscut.com.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:06 in the afternoon. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on this Tuesday, Valentine's Day Eve. And we've got quiet weather out there. It's not too bad.
Have you found any shoppers? I saw your advertisement on Facebook that you're willing to fill in for those who need you to sit at dinner, be the flower giver, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
how you doing on that?
I mean, it all depends on which package you want. I mean, we've got anything from $100 package to the old $600 package. We've been dating for a while, make it Facebook official and meet the parents. So, I mean, it all. But so far, no takers.
I appreciate your entrepreneurship and ingenuity, Dean.
Hey,
nice.
Always got to have that side hustle, right? I mean,
never stop.
Take advantage of these holidays, right? If you want to join in the fun here on Weather and Ag in Focus, feel free to call us on our Red Wing Shoes hotline, 701-293-9000. That's 701-293-9000. We've got a special guest today, Ken from the North Dakota State Seed Department. I am not going to attempt Ken's last name because I know I'll mess that up.
It's Bertsch, like
Bertsch?
the birch tree.
Okay. I would have messed that up, so that's why I didn't attempt it. We've got some ag topics to hit on today. We've got presidential trivia as well to qualify you for Petro USA's $250 gift card. Man, who couldn't use that? That's for sure. But first, let's take a look at the forecast, because we do have a little bit of precip on radar. It's not a lot, and it's really not going to impact any of your travel if you're out there. But we do have kind of a rain-snow mix from just west of Castleton up through Page and northward up towards, let's say, Larimore, and up towards the Canadian border. Other than that, we're not looking at a whole lot. A little pocket of some light snow possible down around Fort Ransom, Lisbon area. All that moving eastward. So over the next hour or two here in the valley, expect a little bit of light snow shower activity, maybe a rain-snow mix. But if you're wondering, is it going to affect my afternoon or evening commute? And a quick answer to that is no. Temperatures are above freezing, so we're not expecting really much of that to stick. So generally cloudy skies. Temperatures currently in the mid-30s across the area, and we'll stay there for the rest of the afternoon with south winds about 5 to 15. Tonight, just a scattered snow shower early, mainly in Lakes Country, then turning partly cloudy. Winds shift to the west, low 20s. And a breezy day on Wednesday, right around 30. And then we'll start tailing off towards the end of the week. 20s on Thursday, teens on Friday, with sub-zero wind chills back in the forecast for Friday before we quickly rebound for the weekend. Bridgette, quiet weather all the way through the next 7 to 10 days. So no big storms on the horizon. Yeah, I know. That's good news for you, finally. We do have, according to our LRC calendar, a possible storm. It went south of us the last two cycles, but not by much. That will come, I believe, towards the end of the month, 25th, I believe, something like that. And again, if you'd like to follow along, you can follow us, our LRC calendar on WDAYradionow.com. Click on that weather tab and you'll find it there. And other than that, it's just been such a quiet and mild winter. In fact, I was reading an article. We're in the top 5 states, top 5 or 6 for warmest state average for this winter. And winter being meteorological winter, December, January, and February so far. Just wow.
Okay. Again, when you say average, you're using a 30 year, right?
Correct. I know
I'm
you
going to
hate
go
that.
back in time. I do because I find it completely inaccurate in the fact that you listen to folks that have been in this state for a long time. We had winters like this in the past, in the 60s, etc.
Mhm.
So it's cyclical. It's like the LRC.
Wait, weather
How
is
long
cyclical?
is the cycle?
No.
I know, I'm making this stuff up, right?
No, you're right. You're right. And, I don't want to, I won't go there. But for the last 30 years, we've all been, things have been warming. So it just makes it look a little more exaggerated when you use the last 30 years. But, it is what it is. But you're right. Yeah. Back in the day, if you will, we had a lot of extremes back then. So, and I see you've got a shirt you want to advertise with us today. If you're watching on our live stream, what do we have? You look excited.
Okay. I thank you to listeners who always think of me and send me awesome ag-related t-shirts. So one of our sponsors this year for our soybeans on our Here We Grow project was Gowan Company. They're based out of Arizona. And their sales rep, Marcia Van Leer, made sure to make new t-shirts this year regarding one of their products called Sonalan. And so she gave me a shirt, and it's got muddy boot tracks on it. And then it talks about muddy boots and clean fields, use Sonalan. And I just thought that was an awesome shirt.
That's cool.
Thank you to Gowan for sending me a t-shirt. Normally I try to dress up for the live stream, but when someone sends you a gift, got to wear it with pride.
Absolutely. No doubt. Well, Bridgette, the last couple of days we haven't been able to hit on some any ag topics. We've been pretty busy. So why don't we hit on a couple here before we go to break?
Where would you like to start? You want to start with yesterday or
Let's start with
today?
yesterday. Yeah. Let's start with yesterday.
Okay.
How about the EPA
All right, so
River Assessment Report?
Well, here's another thing that I'm like, give me more facts and figures, because this is a report that was shouted out by EPA. They said that they looked at all of the rivers and streams across the U.S. and then gave them a ranking. And they're trying to say that 4 of every 10 miles in the U.S. of rivers and streams are in poor condition because of various reasons. Now, of that, 28% of the rivers and streams were also considered in good condition. Those that were in poor condition had some runoff, also excess riparian vegetative cover. So riparian means water plants that are choking out those rivers and streams. So if you have 27% of the rivers and streams that are showing that riparian cover, but yet you are often not allowed to do anything to clean those out because they're considered wetlands. You can't do removal. They're protected lands. How are you supposed to rate those as poor if no one can actually fix them? I don't necessarily understand why they think this report is accurate, but it came from the EPA, and they're trying to tell us that we could do a better job of keeping our rivers cleaner, which overall we probably could.
Okay. How about we get an independent study to see what that's like?
I'd be happy to. And I know that our farm community often gets blamed for so much nitrogen and phosphorus runoff that happens in our rivers and streams. But also, hey, golf courses and homeowners, we're contributors too. And I say we because all of us do this. You put down your excessive amount of fertilizer because if a little bit is good, a lot of bit is better. And then we get heavy rain and we get physical wash off that takes it down our gutters. And where does that wind up? In our rivers and streams. So when I say we, I do mean this as all of us, not just our farm community, can do a better job when it comes to runoff management.
You can count me off the list on we because the neighbor dog fertilizes my yard and I don't have to worry about putting any chemicals down. So count me off that list.
So you're organic. Nice.
As much as my neighbor dog allows it. Absolutely.
Now, okay, so you're doing that as a community project. Well, that leads us to the discussion about a new alliance called Together All. Together All is coming together with a variety of businesses, and those include folks like the Farm Foundation, American Farm Bureau, Farm Credit, CoBank, CHS, National Farmers Union, 4-H, FFA, and more. And what they are doing is they are providing an online mental health and well-being service for a national safety net. This is confidential. It's on-demand support for farmers, ranchers, and farm families. It's recently been unveiled. Access to the service, again, is free. It is online. You can use an anonymous profile to get to a network of peers, backgrounding safeguarded by licensed clinicians to make sure that things are safe, accurate. You have to be 16 or older to use it, but you can go there if you need to talk to folks, especially who understand farm-related stress, anxiety, depression, and where to find resources to help you if you're in that situation or for your community. I think that's a great project. I'm very happy to see this unveiled.
Good deal. Well, we're running up on 116, I should say. So we have to hear from the Farm Ag Network. But when we come back, we'll have Ken Bertsch from North Dakota State Seed Department. He'll be joining us. If you have any questions for Ken or for us, feel free to give us a call on our Red Wing Shoes hotline, which is 701-293-9000, or you can email us at weather@flagfamily.com or ag@flagfamily.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Mixed action remains in the livestock markets as we near the close. You're listening to the American Ag Network. of Jesse Allen with this market update. Well, as we look at the livestock trade, it's been a pretty quiet day there overall, with the lean hog market kind of just trading in a fairly narrow range today, while cattle futures have been under a little bit of mild pressure, but really just not a lot of fresh news to drive the livestock trade as we've gone through the day, as things have just remained mixed and really just quiet overall. No cash cattle trade has developed here today. Trade's likely delayed until after Wednesday sometime. We did get a little bit of dress business in Iowa yesterday, but not enough to make a trend. Box beef prices lower at midday. Choice down 83 cents, $293.25. Select down 7 cents, $286.95, with light movement being seen. Feeder cattle complex trading mildly lower. The market looking for support. Hasn't found much yet. We worked off the fresh highs yesterday and had a decent day, but it looks like we just kind of took some profit here, although the market's fundamentals remain extremely strong. Hog prices trading fully higher to start the day, but we've kind of just drifted in mixed action here as we head towards the close. Pork cutout values down $1.29 at midday, 87.25. The lean hog index, that is down 30, 73.70. Feeder cattle index up 311, 246.06. You're listening to the American Ag Network. And joining us now, Miki Mihaguli, Research Programs Coordinator with the North Dakota Soybean Council, to tell us more about the 2024 NDSU Soybean Symposium. Miki, give us the details on this year's event.
NDSU Soybean Symposium is going to have its fourth annual symposium this year. It will be at the NDSU Alumni Center on March 27th. And I invite researchers, students, postdocs, as well as whoever have interest in soybean research and innovation, come and check it out. We have a pretty great lineup of speakers and great agenda. The purpose is really strategically bridge multiple disciplines, including soybean agronomy, breeding, and soybean new uses research, trying to expand more markets for soybeans to foster collaboration, build exchange, and develop new networks for cutting-edge soybean research.
Learn more online at ndsu.edu or ndsoybean.org. Let's take a look at some of the numbers here ahead of the close. February hogs up 62, 74.20. April hogs down 15, 80.97. March feeder cattle 102 lower, 247.80. April feeders down 160, 251.57. February live cattle down 47, 183.77. April live cattle down 85 at 185.07. June live cattle down 110, 182.42 ahead of the close. Crude oil up $1.04 a barrel, 77.96. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thank you for joining us. And it's bright and sunny here, even if it's not outside. I mean, I got this great yellow t-shirt from Gowan Company. So
it's sunny?
I'm going to sport that. It's sunny where I am
All
because sunny dispositions. So we have a guest with us today, and that is Ken Bertsch with North Dakota State Seed Department. Ken's joined us before, but I feel like this is a topic of conversation, particularly as we get closer to spring planting, that never hurts to be revisited. And I know I have a lot more questions because Ken's department was recently featured in some newspaper articles, so I swiped them. So I knew a lot of the background I wanted to ask. So, Ken, let's start out with, what's the state seed department? Why do you matter to the citizens of North Dakota? Because I think you do.
Well, thank you so much, Bridgette. And thanks for having me on again. I sure appreciate it. What's the seed department? We're a separate state agency of the government of North Dakota. One of the few in the country that separates all seed-related matters from other agriculture department matters in most states. And so we're a separate agency. We do all the seed certification, work for the state for all crops, including potato. We have a couple seed laboratories, one for germination purity and another for phytosanitary and seed health issues. Again, we run potato certification, and interestingly, we're the only agency in the country that does all the certification, the testing, but we also do seed regulatory work too. And I think that's probably the topic of conversation for today.
Well, I think that's a huge point, is regulation, because a lot of times folks think that seed tends to just magically appear, right? We need more of it for perhaps we're making a shift to soybeans versus corn. It's not like we can flip on a switch and seed happens, and it's got to be traced and followed. So where do we start with that conversation, Ken? Just how seed literally gets through you to the farmer? Maybe that's the way we do this.
Okay, a couple different ways. As I said before, we do seed certification work here, and that's for certified crops. Under the Federal Seed Act, seed certification means foundation registered or certified seed. And that's what we do. We field inspect, we test the end product or the harvested product for seed quality. So that's what we do. Now, seed companies, like you mentioned, corn and soybeans, primarily do their own internal quality assurance process. And they'll do something very similar. They'll probably field inspect that seed for a number of different factors in a similar way that we do. They'll certainly test that seed because ultimately, whether it's certified seed like what we're working with mostly, or a quality assured seed that's done through a company's QA program, all of that seed, A, has to have a label, and B, that label has to be accurate for all of the factors that are present in any state seed law, ours in particular in North Dakota. And those label standards include what kind of seed it is, what is the variety name, what's the lot number of that seed, the purity, the germination, the seed count, the labeler's name, the origin of the seed, and all of those things that are necessary for a labeled product. But again, everything has to be labeled, whether it is inspected by our agency or an internal quality control system for a company.
And Ken, what happens to the we'll just call it non-certified seed? So you certify this certain seed. What happens to the seeds that are non-certified?
Well, those, depending on the type of seed that we're talking about, there can be what's called common seed. And that hasn't been through a certification program of any type. And that seed can be marketed if it's legal to be marketed under state seed laws again, and those are very similar state to state. But the only thing that has to happen, again, and I'm repeating myself, but it's very, very important. If you're a consumer of seed and you're buying a non-certified product or any kind of a seed product, you must be provided a label, and that label has to be accurate. So the seed has to be tested if it's to be sold, or more accurately put under state seed laws, placed for sale. But if it's offered for sale, it has to be tested. And so the consumer ultimately knows what they're purchasing.
Okay, and tell us a little about the diagnostic lab that you have. How does that work?
The seed diagnostic lab, we do a series of, we can do but many different types of seed health testing, from, let's say, anthracnose in edible bean to barley stripe mosaic. But those in our diagnostic lab, we primarily do what are called seed health tests, and that is a particular virus or bacteria or fungus that affects the seed quality, and that's what we're doing in that laboratory. As I mentioned, we have another separate laboratory that does all of those seed purity and seed germination and accelerated aging and all of those other seed quality issues that are part of seed labeling in every case.
In that lab, I understand that you recently added molecular testing. That sounds pretty space age. And why is that important? You mentioned dry beans earlier, but I think that molecular testing probably plays a part not only in dry beans, but in the greater good of the seed industry. And how are you guys using that?
You're pretty. I'm going to outkick my coverage here really quick, Bridgette, because this is
Oh, no.
high science, high tech stuff. Molecular testing generally involves testing DNA of seed, and we can do some of that. We do PCR testing, which is, oh my goodness, polymeric I can't even pronounce what it is. We do some of that in our lab. We actually outsource some of that testing. Let me back up just a little bit. Molecular testing, again, is often the DNA of the seed or the DNA fingerprint of that seed. And we do little bits and pieces of that for particular seed health issues, as I was talking about before. Very little to do with the variety of that seed or the genetics of the seed. We primarily outsource most of that type of testing. Backing up one step further, we're one of the few states in the country that requires the variety of the seed to be tested for accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you're buying a particular spring wheat variety, let's use an NDSU variety called a newly released variety called Thresher. Well, if you're looking for that particular variety, it's very important for you to have the attributes of that variety on your farm. You want to make sure that you're getting that variety. There are procedures, and there again, DNA testing procedures that can identify if the variety stated is accurate. Those sorts of things we can do in our lab, but we choose to outsource them to people that do them quicker, faster, better, and cheaper than we can. So I kind of wound my way around and answered your question a little bit, Bridgette.
That's okay.
But again, it's only because I understand my limitations when it comes to some of the science. That's why we have good people doing what they do here.
I think that's a good, fair answer.
Okay.
So when you're bringing some of these new varieties to market, I think about in the ag chem realm, how long it takes and how many dollars. But because we have our own state breeding program for wheat, et cetera, and you just mentioned Thresher is one of the varieties, from the time that work is done, how long does it take until y'all are selling that in the marketplace? Is there a bit of a timeline you follow?
The general rule of thumb, Bridgette, is from start to finish, breeders will usually say it's an 8 to 10 year process. Let's just say 10 years. For us, in our agency, we're usually not looking at those varieties in the field until they reach what's called the breeder's release of that variety. We may have seen it in the field under experimental number for a couple, 3 years prior to that. And so our inspection staff has their eye on something that's coming through the process, and that might be in year 6, 7, 8, something like that. But it's going to take a couple more years usually, and primarily because when the breeder is into the third or fourth or fifth generation of production of that variety, or having crossed and then produced in the field, under their watchful eye, it's going to take a couple more years before there's enough data collected in the field to be able to accurately state to a potential buyer or user of that product, here are the yield, the protein attributes of spring wheat, those sorts of things. So again, the long answer to your question is probably about 10 years, of which in year 8, 9, we're probably involved in that process to do field certification work, perhaps some laboratory testing or something like that.
There's a lot that has to happen in the background, because even when you talk about seed labels, just like you have to have a label on a mattress or a label on a foodstuff, seed's really no different. It's a live product. And I don't know that we all recognize that right off the bat, that you don't just buy seed willy-nilly. You need to know what's going on with it too. So,
it's pretty critical to
all
the
right.
industry to be able to know.
Well, it is. And what you have on a seed label, as you were talking about, matters tremendously to those producers in order to understand what they purchased. And we'll probably talk about those seed labels when we come back. It is 1:30 in the afternoon, bottom of the hour. So don't go anywhere. Ken Bertsch with North Dakota State Seed Department. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with him.
Thanks for making WDAY Radio your new number one with the news that matters to you.
I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY Radio News.
Accurate weather forecasts.
Today we're going to go down in the record book, calling for a high of 50.
And personalities that you can call friends.
Tony! That would not be a good thing. No.
We're proud to serve the Fargo-Moorhead Metro and the region beyond. AM 970 and 93.1. We are WDAY Radio.
Thank you for making a difference this Giving Hearts Day. Because of you, more than 600 organizations will continue to do even more good across our region. Your generosity isn't just about dollars raised. It's about uplifting the people who are tackling the needs of our community every single day. Thank you for helping someone with your time, talent, and treasure this Giving Hearts Day. Together, we can make a lasting impact.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY News First. Minnesota's DFL House Speaker Melissa Hortman is talking about one of her priorities for the new legislative session.
I'm looking forward to this year being a capital investment year and working Democrats and Republicans together to invest in the state's infrastructure, whether it's college buildings, new ones or the ones that need repairs, or wastewater treatment or local roads and bridges. These are things we can work together in the state's interest and get done this year.
Party leaders on both sides say significant spending bills during this session are less likely to pass following spending approved during the last session. 2 fugitives were arrested in a raid involving a SWAT team last night in Fargo. It happened around 8 o'clock in the 1300 block of 5th Avenue North. Police, ATF agents, and U.S. Marshals were also involved in carrying out the high-risk warrant. 35-year-old Tarika Thompson of Memphis was arrested on an attempted murder warrant out of Tennessee. 41-year-old Christopher Butts of Memphis was arrested on an outstanding federal warrant for charges related to narcotics and firearms. North Dakota Senators John Hoeven and Kevin Cramer voted yes on the bill called the National Security Act. The measure would send billions of dollars to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, some of it for defense-related purposes. Tom Tucker, WDAY, and WDAYRadioNow.com.
Creative Planning presents Rethink Your Money with John Hagenson, Saturday at 6 a.m. At Creative Planning, we offer full-service, comprehensive wealth management services through our in-house team of wealth managers, accountants, and attorneys to integrate all aspects of your financial life. Don't settle for a standard portfolio or a set-it-and-forget-it plan. Get all the expertise, all the advice you need, all in-house. Visit creativeplanning.com. That's creativeplanning.com.
Are your trees in need of some TLC? Look no further than Tyler's Tree Service. Whether you're planning for next year or need help now, visit tylerscut.com to request a quote. They'll swing by, assess the job, and send you a competitive bid. That's tylerscut.com.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome back. Thank you for joining us today on Weather and Ag in Focus. So very glad to see you here. And also very glad to have an opportunity to visit with our guest today, and that is Ken Bertsch, North Dakota State Seed Department. All right, Ken, when we were talking before, I mentioned the importance of seed labels, and you've talked about the labels as well. There's some pretty vital information on there. What does a farmer need to know that comes right off the label? And my other question would be, is there any legality or any state laws that dictate what has to go on a seed label for farmers or that you're aware of?
Yes to all the above. Yes, on the seed label, it has to, and I think we talked about this a little bit, the kind of seed, the variety, and all of these things are in state seed laws. They're Again, pretty common across the United States. North Dakotas differ in some ways, but the kind, the variety, the lot number of the seed involved, so that we can trace that back if we need to its certification, the purity of the seed, including are there any other crops or weeds, the germination of the product, because that's very, very important to the farmer, obviously, and the origin and the name of the individual or company that labeled that seed. And again, these are some traceback issues that are pretty important. The other thing that you'll find on a label is generally whether that seed variety is protected. And all of these are very, very important issues right now, especially because there's a lot of seed moving around the country. We're getting close to spring. It looks like it's going to be an early spring. The protection issues or the intellectual property protection issues that are associated with that particular variety. More often than not, in the crops we deal with specifically, we meaning the state seed department, and as I talked about before, that's generally certified class products. Those are usually either protected by plant variety protection or PVP Title V. And PVP means that the variety owner has put a protection on that seed variety, and he has the choice of how that seed is marketed as to the class, how many generations, who's able to replant, those types of things. PVP Title V means that the seed must be sold as a class of certified seed, again, either foundation, registered, or certified seed. And it also gives the farmer an exemption to replant on his own farm. And those things are really, really important to pay attention to. In general, my sense is after doing this for a long, long time, people generally understand what variety protection issues are. And as you go into planting season, just to really simplify things, you just assume everything is protected because almost everything is anymore. And it's protected by some sort of variety protection, whether it's PVP. And again, Title V allows you to purchase that seed variety and then subsequently replant it on your own farm for as long as you want to, unless there's some other choice given or decision made by the variety owner. And those are usually PVP varieties that may, and we're seeing more and more of this, involve some sort of limitation to that replant. Some, for example, some spring wheat varieties are now coming with a limited use agreement. In other words, they can only be planted one single time. The variety owner has every right to determine that. And so the most important thing you can do as a producer is A, know the variety protection that you're working with, and that's virtually in any seed. That would include cereals, oil seeds, soybeans, all of them have something different on them. And especially if you start talking about soybeans, now we're in sort of a different arena for variety protection, and varieties and the traits that are associated with certain varieties are all protected differently. So it's important to know what that is, and your seed dealer should tell you that. They're the ones that are the expert on their particular products. They should be able to tell you exactly how they can be used or reused in some cases. And so you should rely on their transparency and their honesty in marketing that product.
And can you tell us what are some of the new varieties being released for the upcoming growing season this year?
Oh boy, now you're asking me tough questions again. NDSU, I don't deal with the specific varieties that much. Our certification people do. NDSU has released a new one for next year, and I'm trying to Stampede is the name of the spring wheat, but that won't be available to the general public until next year. I mentioned Thresher. That's an NDSU spring wheat variety that's been released this year. And where I start getting lost, and I apologize for this, is some of the private company varieties. Syngenta has probably released something in spring wheat, perhaps Westbred. All the other crops we deal with, whether it's barleys, oat, flax, all of them, and soybean, again, is a different breed of cat because, and Bridgette, you probably know this better than I do, there's a dozen different soybeans that come out every year from private brand companies.
Right. And that kind of leads to an extension of that question for you there as well, Ken. You've got what's called like the great expiration, because you have seed that's coming back in that was probably PVPs, like you said, that protected variety, plant protected variety. And so that's really going to increase kind of the breadth and width of what you're doing with in-state seed. Would that make sense, that you're going to have more of those becoming public that you'll be taking under your wing? Would that be fair?
To some extent, and it's a really interesting topic. The first time we really got hit with a expiration issue, you called it the Great Expiration, and one of my guys did an article on that, and it was really well done.
Yes.
Expiration touches us in the seed industry in a couple different ways. And it can be the expiration of the protection of a variety, whether that's PVP or a seed patent or something like that, because there are, again, many different ways that a variety owner can protect. Those, well, PVP in particular is a 20-year protection. And so some of the varieties that, and they're still in use, are coming off PVP. That's a layman's term for it, it's expiring. And so those become public realm properties, basically. But that's just the seed variety. The other thing that's happening at the same time is some of the traits, and we'll use Roundup Ready as the best example. This happened back in the mid to late 2015, 16, 17, somewhere in there. The Roundup Ready 1 trait, which was protected, that's not a variety, it's a trait, that also expired. And so there was a lot of confusion back then, and I'm using it as an example for a reason, because it's going to become more prolific as we go forward. The trait expired, okay? So Roundup Ready became a generic product, and some breeding programs were able to use the Roundup Ready 1 trait to integrate into some of their soybean varieties, and probably corn too, although we don't work with corn very often. But they certainly integrated them, and NDSU integrated the Roundup Ready 1 trait into some of its soybean varieties because the trait protection had expired. That's only one part of the issue, because there's two. The variety may or may not have its protection expired. And so that's something, again, I'll go back to one of my previous statements. The best one to accurately tell you as a seed consumer whether any protection is in place, whether trait or genetics, is your seed dealer. Because in some cases, they may not be lined up. In other words, one might have expired, but the other one is still in play. And so as these traits or genetic protections expire, it's going to change the industry going forward. I think I've read someplace, and again, I'm not the expert on some of these traits, but Liberty Link, I think, is going to become a generic product soon, which means the original protections are expiring. And that's an assumption that I'm making.
Yep, but I see what you're saying there, that as those become off patent, their accessibility changes. But that tends to muddy the water sometimes, because it's been so long since we've been able to do like a bin run seed, if you will, where you're able to have that trait in the bin without a concern about royalties, etc. So yeah, these changes are going to be a little more wild to navigate. And do you foresee a number of people calling you to just make sure they're doing the right thing, Ken?
I sure hope they do, Bridgette, because we're more than happy to answer those. We're happy to answer those questions. We'd prefer, we're the regulatory agency and we're the enforcement agency and all that kind of fun stuff. But really, our regulatory role is educational more than anything else. And believe it or not, we don't care to pursue a regulatory violation, and whether that involves let's use plant variety protection. North Dakota seed laws, by the way, are really, I say they're pro variety owner and pro industry or consumer, because we have the highest enforcement provision, the strongest enforcement provisions in the entire United States. And it's good for the industry because, and again, we don't like to do it, but if we have to pursue let's say a variety of a genetic or variety protection issue, brown bagging, for example, if somebody misuses or sells a protected product, or even gives it away or trades it, those are all illegal under the law, by the way. You can say, well, I just traded it to my neighbor. I didn't take any money for it. It's still illegal. You can't sell, barter, or trade protected property. Anyway, we don't care to pursue those. We'd much prefer that if you've got any question at all, again, talk to your seed dealer, but you're welcome to call us, talk to our regulatory manager, talk to anybody in our certification program, and we'll be happy to walk through. And if we don't know, we will look up on the federal PVP sites, if we have to, the protection status of any variety. It may be tougher for us to dig out what the protection status of a trait is, but we'll certainly help to find that if anybody has a question.
And Ken, we've got an email question. Somebody emailed this in asking, are the seeds from North Dakota breeding program patented?
Okay, I'm going to assume that means, if we're hearing the North Dakota program, we assume that means NDSU breeding programs. And I'll answer the question on that basis. They are not, again, I'm going to qualify every statement. I'm not an employee of NDSU, nor am I an administrator in their programs, but generally speaking, the varieties that are released from NDSU are put under plant variety protection. So they're not patented, they are protected under PVPA. And they're usually Title V varieties. And that's, I'm going to say usually, because they may have in the past or will in the future release something under PVP, what's called PVP 94, and that's the first edition of plant variety protection, that does not require certification or is a little bit more flexible as to the number of classes that may be marketed. Or if they choose some other relevant difference from PVP Title V. So the answer to your question is no, I don't believe they're patented. They are protected.
Okay.
I tell you what, Ken, this is so helpful because just what you said about you're with the state seed department, and yet so many people equate that with simply being part of NDSU, which you're not. Those are two separate entities, but they really overlap tremendously. So your explanations have been really helpful to get us to this point. So thank you for that.
And I'm happy to do it. Yeah, we hear the same thing. Well, you're just part of NDSU. No, we're not. The founders of this institution back in 1931, and that's the state legislature, decided to site the state seed department on the campus of NDSU. And if you think about it, that's some real foresight, right? Because all of the breeding programs for the public are on campus. And so they sit us right next door. And it's become, we've got a great relationship with our colleagues and our partners on campus, and our folks are going back and forth with breeders and scientists and pathologists all the time. And it is a really good partnership, I think, that benefits the industry in the state.
Well, thank you for taking the time. That is so greatly appreciated. And for folks who want to follow up and reach out to you, Ken, how can they do that?
You can, grab a pen. You can call us at 701-231-5400. You can, this is easier. You can find us at nd.gov, ndseed.com. Look us up on the internet. You can find all the information you need. Our website is fairly well done, and you can find a lot of information on there, but at the very least, you can find out who you need to talk to and make sure and give us a call if you have any kind of questions at all, especially on those variety protection issues. Those are pretty important, especially this time of year.
Thank you, Ken, so very much for your time today. Greatly appreciated. Again, Ken Bertsch with North Dakota State Seed Department. Thank you. And Dean and I are going to be back shortly. We got that check of the weather, a few more headlines. We'll see what's shaking on a Tuesday.
And presidential trivia as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, it's Steve Kearney from Steve Kearney Outdoors. Catch me on Friday mornings on Bonnie and Friends, and we'll talk hunting and fishing, and I'll pass along tips to help you have better success on the water and in the field, and let you know what's trending right now.
Steve Kearney Outdoors is brought to you by AutoFix in Henning and Ottertail, an independent family-run shop that knows how important it is to get you in and taken care of quickly. Find out more at AutoFixRepairs.com.
When it comes to putting an honest day's work, you need the right gear. That's where Red Wing Shoes steps in. Trusted by the toughest, worn by the best. Hi, Teresa here from the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. We're more than footwear. We're committed to quality, durability, and comfort for your feet. Whether you're in the field, on a job site, or out on the town, Red Wing Shoes has a perfect fit for you. Red Wing Shoes, where hard work meets the perfect pair. Because a job worth doing is a job worth doing right. 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Red Wing Shoes for ultimate durability.
Would you rather have to work outside under the hot North Dakota sun in the middle of summer?
Or would you rather have work outside in the middle of a cold and windy North Dakota winter?
Well, your windows and doors don't get to choose because they have to work for you during both extreme hot and cold North Dakota weather. I'm Jaden.
And I'm Andrew. We're your window and door gurus here in Fargo.
We love what we do because we help people save money on their heating and air conditioning bills.
They like that a lot, but they also like how new windows and doors make their home look nicer, newer, and add resale value.
We give you a guarantee on the installation of your new windows.
Give us a call today. Our schedule is filling up fast.
We'll come to your home and show you a huge variety of windows and door styles and colors that we have.
We know you're busy, so we'll meet you when it works best for you.
We promise no pressure and no obligation. And we'll give you a free estimate on one window or a house full of windows.
The Window and Door Store in Fargo, 701-205-0110.
Better windows, better doors.
Hi, this is Kevin Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer's Auction Company. Pfeiffer's February 2024 auctions include farm equipment retirement auctions and 1,500 acres of crop and pasture land in Eddy County, North Dakota, 152 acres of hunting land in Rolette County, north of Dunseith, North Dakota, 320 acres of cropland in Kidder County, north of Steele, North Dakota, and 566 acres of cropland in Stutzman County near Jamestown, North Dakota. View these incredible auctions and many more land and equipment auctions at Pfeiffers.com.
Say cheese and pepperoni, because every Wednesday is Schlotzsky's buy one, get one free pizza of cheese, pepperoni, or any other flavor of pizza or flatbread. So make the middle of the week taste better with a free pizza at Schlotzsky's on Wednesdays when all pizzas are buy one, get the second one free. Signature sourdough, fresh toppings. Now that's a win-win pizza. Make your Wednesday lunch and dinner plan to go to Schlotzsky's. It's a great deal any way you slice it. Schlotzsky's, it's a mouthful.
Welcome to Jiffy Lube Multi-Care, where car care just makes sense. Say goodbye to car talk confusion with personalized service reviews that speak straight to you. Our highly trained service technicians have your back, decoding what your car is saying and taking care of the small stuff before it becomes big stuff. From Pennzoil oil changes to tires, brakes, batteries, and more, we've got it all covered. Your car deserves the best, making you ready for whatever's next. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care? That's a job for Jiffy. Jiffy Lube, 1780 South Columbia Road, Grand Forks.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
We got a screaming goat. We got a puffer fish. It is a zoo around here some days. And temperatures out there mid-30s. We do have some mixed precip, little rain and snow. Just about ready to enter the FM area. It's already a little light mix out to our west, just to the west on 94. So that's moving eastward. Be expecting that here within the next 20 minutes or so. So get your fingers ready. Dial that phone 701-293-9000 for a chance to win PetroServe USA. You'll get on the list for a chance to win a $250 gift card. That'll be drawn a week from today, or is it Monday? I think it's on President's Day. So
Monday, the 19th.
On Monday, so it's 6 days away. Mm-hmm. And that will be drawn on the Steve Hallstrom Show on our sister station. So today's question is, President Harry S. Truman. What was his middle name? 701-293-9000. Harry.
I know this one.
Do you? All right.
I do. I did a paper on Harry Truman
Uh-huh.
in high school.
Oh, really?
So, I can't wait. Come
Awesome.
on, people, start sending in these. Dial them up, 701-293-9000.
That's
For those
right.
of you who insist on texting me the right answers and not calling in, that doesn't
You
qualify
can't
you.
win
You
that
have
way.
to call.
No, that's right. Harry S. Truman. And what was his middle name? 701-293-9000. I can hear the Google searches going crazy right now.
This is an easy one, guys. Come on. You
Is
got
it
this.
easy? Okay.
I think so. Yep, I'm all there.
Well, if you did a paper on him, then that would make sense. All right. We've got a caller on line one. Caller, what's your name and what is your guess?
It's Jamie. He didn't have a middle name, just an initial.
You are correct. That is the correct answer. That's right. In fact, the S was given to him. He didn't have a middle name, but the S was to honor his grandfathers, Anderson Ship Truman and Solomon Young. So that's right. The S did not stand for anything. So
perfect.
Excellent. Well, Jamie, we're going to put you on hold here, and I will have our producer, Jacob, get your information, and we'll put you in the drawing, and best of luck to you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, you bet.
Thanks.
All right. Boy, off the bat, too. That was awesome. Good deal.
Yay, Jamie. Very happy.
And so you did a paper on him, and then you should know that, right?
I did. Yep. I knew that it didn't stand for anything originally. He would tell the joke that I was so poor I didn't even get a middle name when I was born. So that's one way to look at it.
That's awesome.
Okay. Speaking of looks at the weather. That's why we're here. What's going on?
That is one of the reasons we're here, and we do have some little bit of mixed precip. Temperatures are in the mid-30s right now, but that precip out around the Mapleton area, just entering West Fargo as we speak. Castleton also getting a little mixed precip right now. It looks like mainly rain and snow kind of mixed together. So this is not going to pose any problem in terms of commuting, traveling. This will push east into Lakes Country as we head towards evening. And then we'll actually start seeing breaks in the clouds. After highs today in the mid-30s, we'll see the clouds break up tonight, dropping off into the low 20s. And then as we head into tomorrow, a little breezy, partly cloudy, with winds out of the west-northwest 10 to 25, highs around 30, and then we'll fall off into the 20s on Thursday, upper teens on Friday with a pretty good wind. We'll have wind chills below zero on Friday. Friday will feel like winter is back. The winds continue, I know, but it's only for a day or so. Winds continue into Saturday. We'll warm it up into the mid to upper 20s. It won't feel like it with the wind, though. A little calmer on Sunday, low 30s, and we'll stay in the 30s through Tuesday of next week. In fact, most of next week even looks like a pretty decent weather. The next possible impactful storm on our LRC calendar comes in towards the end of the month. So we'll keep an eye on that. It went south of us the last two cycles, so we'll see what happens on this cycle. That's been the trend. And, let's hope we get something out of that. Again, we need the moisture. And although, our two main storms, Christmas and the one that just hit the other week, those have brought us plenty of precip. That's good news there. But we've got to get a little more in between that, or we're going to have a lot of dry moments this upcoming spring, unfortunately.
I'm going for rainfall, Dean. That's what I say.
Let's hope so.
We're going to do that.
Let's hope so. So for Bridgette, myself, want to thank you for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 1. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.